Hello, this is Danny Blyth from the College of Integrated Chinese Medicine, looking at odour and smell in 5 element diagnosis. Remember, this is for acupuncture and Chinese medicine professionals. Please pause and read this. So first of all, why is it so difficult to diagnose odour? And part of this is because it's related to the Po. It gets hardwired straight into the subconscious. So if we think of how smell works, molecules of odour go up into the mucus and into the olfactory epithelium, into the olfactory bulb, and that cuts straight across into the limbic system, the hippocampus and the amygdala, which have to do with memory, emotions, instinct, decision making, motivation. So hardwired straight into the animal part of our brain, the limbic system. All the other senses first of all get channeled through the neocortex and get modified, whereas smell is straight in there. You'll notice there's very few words to describe smell, and this is very unfair if you think that we can detect about 500,000 sounds. We have 3 types of cone cell that distinguish about 100 colour shades each, so depending on who you believe, between 1 and 10 million colours. And our noses have 10,000 receptor neurons, which means something like 1 trillion different odours are capable of being detected. So if you think of the language, like for describing blue, we've got cyan, azure, capri, cobalt, cyan, glaucus, indigo, sapphire, turquoise, violet, viridian, etc., etc. You think of odours, and we've basically got stinky, fragrant, musty, and then things that are like the thing that we're smelling, orangey, or that give us the sense like sickly, doggy, minty. And I think this is because it's such a subconscious sense, so related to our gut feelings and our sense of things rather than our logical brain. I also think it's a problem that we have such strongly negative descriptors for odour, which is partly why I've done this. So we talk about rotten and rancid. They're not nice ways to describe people. There are also lots of things to confuse us, so cosmetics, clothing smells, and environmental smells all throw us off the scent. So I'm going to look at the terms used for odour at Kickham and in 5 element terminology. I'm also going to give you second the Wiseman terminology, third Unshold's translations. I think he's probably our best translator, and I'm going to give you any other relevant Chinese characters, and then we'll look at some positive and negative ways of describing the odours. So the odour associated with fire is scorched, burnt, charred, parched. The character shows a pheasant or a long-tailed bird on the top and fire underneath. So the idea of something being cooked. So we might describe this as a burnt pan, smoke, vegetables burnt dry in a steamer. Some more positive images: toasted oats, burnt toast, the first smell of matches, wood smoke on the wind, ironing or tumble drying, or the smell that you get when you first blow out a candle. So the earth odour is fragrant or aromatic, sweet smelling, incense scented. The character shows grain on the top and underneath a mouth with a tongue in it. Originally this top was actually millet and it got shortened. So fermented grain or beer, the smell of a cowshed or silage, baby's nappies, flowers left in a vase too long, a sort of sickly sweet, nauseating, lingering, cloying scent that hangs around the nostrils. Also more positive images: sweet, the smell of breast milk, the smell of a newborn baby's head, a floral or a blossom smell, incense, aromatic, overripe fruit or condensed milk. Metal odour is rotten, fishy. Other meanings of it are raw meat, rank, pork or chicken fat. So negative image for this is rotting meat that's on the turn, old bins, rubbish lorry, feces, and it's described as intense, foul, prickling or clenching. So some more positive images. An autumnal woodland walk, the smell of breaking down leaves in the autumn, fungi, mineral-like or plastic-like the smell of a new car or the smell of fresh blood. The character has flesh on the left-hand side, like a piece of meat hanging up, and the right-hand side is a phonetic. It's actually a star. For water we have putrid or foul, so urine smell, decaying or rotten, curdle, this is the name for tofu, spoilt or corrupt. So negative images, stale urine, like the smell of an old people's home or public toilet, stale wine, it's sharp like ammonia bleach, makes your nose clench, cat's urine, stagnant water or stagnant pond, and sewage. And some more positive images, a sea breeze, salty like marmite or vegetable stock, and the smell after a big thunderstorm. The character on the top has a storehouse, so this is the character on its own used for the yin organs, and then underneath again we've got the character for meat, so we've got a storehouse for meat. For wood we have rancid, an animal odour, fetid, rank, and it's also the character used for unpleasant body smells. The character once again has hanging up meat, and the other side, which is a phonetic, is actually a load of birds singing in a tree. So noisy, so perhaps it's a noisy smell. So rancid fat, off butter, chip pan, the smell you get outside a fast food restaurant. An animal smell, like a fox, a goat or a skunk. Smell of sour cheese or wet sheep. It prickles on the inside of your nose. So some more positive images. Acidic or sour, makes your nose wrinkle, wakes up the senses. A fatty smell like crisps or homemade chips, and the smell of freshly mown grass. So where do these odours come from? They were first discussed in the Huangdi Neijing's Simple Questions in chapter 4, the third section of chapter 4. So the Yellow Emperor asks, the 5 yin organs correspond to the 4 seasons. Each has its collecting and receiving. How is that? And Chibo says that's right. And then he goes on to describe the east is the blue colour. It enters and connects to the liver. Its opening orifice is the eyes, and he describes a lot of the correspondences. So these ones that are in colour talk about the odour. And this character for odour is nice. It has a nose on the top and a dog on the bottom, and I know that's one weird looking dog. So you see here he describes each of the odours associated with its element. So finally, a few odours not related to elemental imbalance. Sweat might be damp heat in the liver and gallbladder, a kind of foxy smell. Might be wind damp heat, giving a kind of goaty smell. Might be wind heat or toxic heat. Bad breath might be stomach heat or fire, giving foul breath. It might be food stagnation, giving sour or phlegm heat, giving a fishy odour. Might also be teeth decay or kidney empty heat. Smelly nasal discharge might be lung heat or lung phlegm heat. Might be damp heat in the spleen and stomach if there's a digestive upset. Might get rotten apple smell with diabetes. Damp heat in the ear might give you a foul or a fishy discharge. Vomit might be sour or foul if there's stomach heat, putrid or rotten if there's food stagnation, and fishy if there's a spleen and stomach deficiency. Urine might be strong or foul if there's bladder in the damp heat in the bladder. Might be heart fire, can give it a strong urea smell. Might be mildly fishy if there's kidney deficiency. Stools and flatulence might be strong and foul if there's heat, especially damp heat in the large intestine. Sour and foul if there's food stagnation. Fishy if there's spleen and stomach cold. Rotten egg smell if there's food stagnation or toxic heat. And finally, vaginal discharge might be strong, foul, fishy with damp heat, usually in the liver, or mild and fishy if it's cold, damp. So some top tips: the stronger the imbalance, the stronger the smell. Take small sniffs like a dog. Remember that olfactory centre rather than big long sniffs. Best to smell, we notice change more than anything. So as you walk into the room with the patient, if they remove their clothing or if you remove the blanket, that's a good time to smell your patients. If you're smelling family friends, smell them between the shoulder blades and become conscious. Remember, this is very subconscious, so the more times you bring it into your consciousness, the better you'll get at it. So that's all. Have a pause of this if you want to have a look at some further reading.